Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Leo, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of April 2023. I hope you are well. I'm using the Night Sun Tarot for you today. Before we begin, if you resonate with the reading and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's the first link in the description box. Second link in the description box is to the 6-month overviews that I did for each of the signs. They run from January to June 2023, and obviously we're halfway through that period now, so I have knocked the prices down accordingly. It's exceedingly reasonable for the length of the reading and the depth that it goes into. So if you're interested in that, that's link number 2. Link number 3 is to my private community, the Order of the Phoenix. That's over at Circle. You can get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost, plus hang out with an absolutely extraordinary group of people. And we started running classes and all sorts of things over there as well. So if that floats your boat, you know what to do. Right, Leo, let's have a look and see what April has in store for you. We have the Knight of Cups in your recent past. Tell me about current energy for Leo, please. Ooh, we have the World card. Nice. What's coming towards Leo, please, for April? We have the Tower. This feels incredibly positive to me because we do have the Six of Wands at the bottom of the deck. That is the card of Leo in and of itself, but it talks about victory. Let me just flip this around so you can see what I am looking at here. This Tower feels exceedingly positive to me, Leo, and it feels like it's been a long time coming. The fact that the World card is here in your present energy, speaking as it does about completion and graduation and coming to the end of a cycle, it seems like, I don't know, this Knight of Cups, I can't help but feel that this has been like some sort of test for you. Now, I don't generally like, I don't like to refer to things as karmic tests or give that kind of vibe to stuff, because it leads us down a path of thinking that there's something that you can pass or fail. It's like you've been vibe checked by the universe and, you know, you've found to be coming up lacking or something like that. Rather, it seems that despite what has been frustrating for you, despite what has been exceedingly tiresome, perhaps vexatious at points, right? It's about keeping that mood high and not allowing anything to pull you down. You know, the Knight of Cups is Pisces energy, and it talks about coming from, you know, from a place of love on everything. And I think there has been a number of opportunities recently where you could have gone down one path, but you chose the higher road each time, right? You haven't allowed yourself to slide into anything else. So whether that's been about being patient, because that's always a bit of a trial for Leos, you know, that's a possibility. Choosing not to meet people who are vexatious to your spirit on their level, but insisting, in fact, instead that they come up and meet you on yours, or just not meet you at all if they're not prepared to do that. That seems to be the nature of what has brought the world to your doorstep. And then with this Tower card, released you to make some really quite spectacular changes. I mean, people get upset when they see the Tower card, but genuinely it is one of the most positive cards in the deck. It doesn't always feel like it when it appears, but it's always freeing you up from something that's been stuck and allowing you to move in a different direction. If you think about it just in terms of a redirection, that's what the Tower energy is doing, and it's pulling away anything that is old or stale or stagnant and freeing you up to go on a path that is much more in alignment with your higher self, with your fortune, with your destiny, all those kind of things, right? So let's have a look at this. Tell me about the Knight of Cups, please. We've got the Nine of Wands, right? Exactly what I was saying. It's been a test of resilience for you. And we've got the Empress there. Tell me, that's Taurus energy, or Libra, but Taurus mostly for me. Tell me about the World card. We have Ten of Cups. Astounding. Whoa, goodness me. We've got the Hanged Man, which actually was kind of showing up in the reverse there. We've got the Six of Swords and we've got the Eight of Wands. And what about the Tower? Where's the Tower here for Leo, please? We have the Ace of Cups and Ten of Wands and Ace of Cups, with the Page of Cups at the bottom of the deck. There's a lot of very watery energy in here for you, but that actually feels like it's a really good thing. It doesn't feel like it's putting you out. It feels like it's got you in touch with something. So we start back here, and you know exactly what I said before. I'm really sorry about the sun bleaching the colour out of the cards. Well, maybe lean over a little bit. Make any difference? No, not really. Okay. It does feel like you have been tested, but I don't think that you were tested in a sense of passing or failing. It was testing the resolution that you have, you know, the resilience that you have built up in your emotional place. Now, I think that the last few months, 2 or 3 years ago, possibly might have sent you into a bit of a spiral. And I think for some, there's a distinct possibility that what you've been experiencing in the last few months is something that relates to a situation that you have already been in. I can't believe how much the sun's fucking washing these out. And I'm thinking specifically around about this sort of time, 2021, and going right the way into 2022. Almost like what you're trying to do now is an order of magnitude bigger than what you were trying to do in 2021. And there have been similar themes of stagnation and slowness and things not progressing as quickly as you would like. But you've gone about it differently this time. I know a lot of Leos lost faith for a period in 2021 and then had to work really, really hard to reclaim that for themselves. But just as I was actually saying to Taurus, in the reading that I did for them last month, you know, the importance of self-doubt, because it makes you sit down and check yourself, you know, not just is what I'm trying to do reasonable, but testing, challenging in yourself your resolve to actually make it happen, but make it happen in the right way. You know, Leos have got a habit sometimes of battering their heads against brick walls over and over again, you know, trying to subdue situations or overcome situations with pure force of will. And sometimes it's something a little less confrontational that Leo has to go with. So it's about being actually a little bit softer, a little bit more pliable, a little bit more flexible in our approaches. We were talking about the difference between attachment to outcome and a submission to a path, I think. You know, trusting that the universe knows more than you do and allowing it to shape you, mould you and direct you as it will. That seems to be what's been going on here. And you've passed with flying colours. You know, the Empress is all about what it is that you are trying to gestate, the new things that you are trying to bring into the world. And I've said for months now that Leo has a plan. I remember it coming up in the 6-month overviews too. Oh, it's my chicken. I was wondering what was making that noise out there. She's just scratching around in the gravel. You know, whenever the Empress appears, we do talk about, you know, issues of fertility and abundance and that sort of thing, right? But there is a sense that what we are trying to create takes a bit of time to gestate. And although we would like it all yesterday because we're fire signs, if it's worth doing, it's worth waiting for. And so keeping yourself at a level where you're like, right, it's not yet, but I have faith, is the thing that seems to have accelerated this process as opposed to where you were in 2021. I mean, it's incredibly positive. You know, for those of you out there who've ever been pregnant, like it's literally the longest, I don't know, for me, the longest between 33 and 36 weeks that I've ever experienced of my life. It just literally felt like I was going to be pregnant forever. Quite a depressed pregnant person as it happens, but when that child comes along, or those children in my case, because I, you know, got into a bit of a habit of having more than one at once, everything that you've suffered, I am a suffering pregnant woman, everything that you've suffered for the previous 8 months, 9 months fades away, and you've got a prize. Now, I don't think necessarily all of you are getting pregnant and having children and all that, but we're talking sort of thematically, metaphorically. You know, the struggles that you have gone through in the last, I would say in the last 6 months, are reaching a point of culmination, like Labour Day approaches, my friends, and the fruits of your labours, the fruits of your struggle, the fruits of what you have of the effort that you have consistently put in are getting ready to be tasted, which is absolutely magnificent. And when we move into this present energy here of the world, and like I said, it's a card of endings, of completions, of graduation. And whenever the world card appears, it's actually, it augurs great joy, because we have come to the end of a cycle and we are prepared, we are ready, we have readied ourselves to start something new. It's not the only card of endings, not that you can see them all here, but because we have the Ten of Cups there too. And the Ten of Cups is, like the world, a card of accumulation, right? Having reached the pinnacle of something. We've got the Ten of Cups there, so it might well be related to your family, but it's certainly got a community aspect to it too. It isn't just a success for you. This is the important thing. It's not just a win for you. Others are benefiting, whether this is your close family, your friends, your community. Certainly there are a lot of people here that are rooting for you, Leo, but I do feel like everybody's getting the benefit. It's almost like we talked about months ago, right? About how Leo in this instance was turning up like a lorry with incredible torque, right? Doesn't move slowly, but what you're trying to do is move mountains, right? You're moving tons and tons and tons of stuff, because it's not all just yours. I feel like there's huge karmic implications here, right? You've really, really put in the work, and you know, yes, you could have gone faster, but in a little 1 litre fucking roller skate, essentially, you could have powered off, but you wouldn't have had the ability to take as many people with you as you are doing, and it wouldn't have been such a meaningful change if you'd done it any other way, right? So now you're this great big talky lorry, and it's absolutely filled to the brim, and it's moving slowly, but it just needs to start building up the momentum. This is where it feels you are at this point. You know, we've got the Hanged Man in reverse. Oh, this is so welcome, because the Hanged Man in its upright, it does talk about wisdom and how we accrue wisdom by choosing to look at things from a different perspective, and I think that you've been doing that. I think that this is something that you've been flexing quite a lot over the last few months, and where there were points where you could have got very down about things, you've just been like, okay, like remember what I've known about things, remember what I've learned. Nothing stays static forever, right? And the lorry might be moving really fucking slowly, but it is starting to build up speed. You know, we've got to go through like fucking 24 gears before we get to a top speed, but when we're there, we really be trucking, you know. But it is also a card of suspension and being held still. And the fact that it's come up in the reverse for you, I feel very clearly states that the time of suspension is over. We have arrived at the end of a cycle, and from here on out the movement picks up, right? It picks up speed, it picks up momentum. I think you could stop this if you wanted to, Leo. It's on its way. And we've got the Six of Swords in reverse, which is really quite interesting, because obviously this way around it talks about leaving something behind, but what we've actually got here is a going back to something. And it's funny, because there's one thing that I've been saying to my partner, it's probably the phrase that's come out of my mouth the most in the last week, is stick to the plan, stick to the original plan. Now, whether that's just a me thing or whether that's a Leo thing, it's entirely down to you, but I've got this sense of this being stick to the original plan. We don't have to do things differently, we don't have to look for a different way of doing stuff, because the original plan was a good one. It just needed a little bit of time to gestate. all the pieces to be moved where they needed to be. Tell me about the Six of Swords, please. Yeah, we've got the Queen of Cups and the Three of Pentacles. Now, the Queen of Cups is the card of, it's essentially of receptivity. We've got the Four of Swords at the bottom of the deck there. It's allow things to unfold the way that they were supposed to. You know, cooperate with the universe as it's setting up the things that you need for the next step forwards. This is what the Six of Swords is saying here, right? You don't need to deviate from the plan that you had. The plan was perfectly good. What was required was some sort of shift in you whereby you were willing to be patient enough to wait for it, or put the work in to make it happen. And this Eight of Wands says it is going to pick up speed quite dramatically now. Now, we've got this Four of Swords at the bottom of the deck here. And again, the Mother of Cups is pointing to it. And the Four of Swords talks to us about healing and all that sort of thing. But it talks about, for me, mental peace. And I think if it's one thing that you have really understood about the last few months, is what you are planning is going to happen. It is going to happen. There's no doubt in your mind about that. And there might be obstacles and there might be challenges. But where you're going feels so strong in here that there isn't anything that's going to stop you. There are going to be things that slow you down, and maybe it is because there are things to be tidied up. But because you've been coming at this from a state of mental peace, because you have been accepting that the universe wants to take you, you know, down a particular path, in a particular way, at a particular speed, because there are things being kind of clunked into place all the way along the line. And you've been willing to work with that instead of fighting it. And I think that whatever it was in 2021, it was fighting it. It's made all of the difference. You know, how many times have I said to you, you know, your external world is a reflection of your internal world. If we want to change something outside of us, more often than not, there is something internally that needs to shift first. Now, I think this is what it is. It's an acceptance. You know, there's nothing here that's suggesting a fight. We've got possibility of it there, but I mean, even that, it's more of a kind of resilient energy than anything else. It's been like, right, well, I have been fighting. You know, maybe the lesson that he's learned here is that he doesn't need to fight anymore. I mean, I've talked to Leo about this, Leo and Taurus, a considerable number of times over the last 3 years, because there's something about these two signs, because they are born knowing innately that they are strong. Often there's this idea, slightly warped, slightly masochistic idea that both of these signs have, that it's not right unless it's hard. You know, our life experiences teach us that, you know, in order to get the things that we want, we're in a constant state of struggle against other people, against situations, against authority figures who we feel have power over us, and we're kind of railing against them. You know, nothing gets handed to you on a plate. But the warped perspective that this creates in us is one that has us thinking that we have to struggle permanently. Like, there is no other way of doing things than struggle. And it's not quite correct. What comes with age and experience is an understanding that is a discernment. It says sometimes we fight, other times we just let it go. Whether that's old memories, whether that's people who are trying to be literally vexatious to your spirit right now. You know, you don't have to bite at everything, and you don't have to fight everything. Some things just blow themselves out. And if you've been dealing with people who've been awkward, I imagine they're blowing themselves out now with very little effort from you. You just sort of watched them do it. But situations are blowing themselves out. And all it required from you was a sense of peace, a sense of acceptance, and a sense of pure knowing, Leo. Leos are massively underrated psychics. Like, when you know a thing, Leo, you fucking know it. But the problem has been working out you know, just how aggressively you have to go after a thing to get it. Like, the nature of who you are and the way that you work, Leo, is starting to change. I feel like there's a lot of wisdom now with you, and the wisdom is right there in the King of Wands. You know, what marks out the Knight of Wands from the King of Wands as being a different energy altogether is that the Knight of Wands is on permanently all the time, right? And he's looking like Johnny Five from Short Circuit. He's like, input, I need fun, I need extremes, I need things that are pushing the boundaries, I need to experience life at the absolute polarities. Balls to the wall constantly. Sagittarius energy, right? But as the Knight of Wands begins to evolve into the King of Wands, a sense of timing, a sense of where we expend the effort, right? It becomes much more nuanced. So it's not about fun 24/7. It's not about hedonism. It's not about, you know, or even, you know, going after and fighting for the things. So we've got that drama with the Knight of Wands. The King of Wands is like, I'm not going to make a move unless I know what I'm doing. I'm confident in the moves that I'm making. I'm not going to fight for the sake of it. I'm not going to expend my energy for the sake of it, right? When we think about lions on the savannah, they lie around for 23 hours a day. But when they have to make that movement, they're rested enough that they can go and take down whatever it is that they need to feed on to survive. And then they can lie around in the sunshine for the next 23 hours. Or however long daylight is, right? It's the thing that I think differentiates the energy of the Knight, which is very young, very headstrong, almost tempestuous, dramatic energy, and the King of Wands, which feels much more, I think Radiant Reality refers to it as silent dignity, Leos, and I think that there's something in that. I think that we get quieter as we get older, not necessarily introverted, although a lot of you will be, but there's a willingness to be still. There's a willingness to listen to what your intuition is saying to you. It doesn't have to be frantic all the time. It doesn't have to be even, because, you know, Leos have got such a capacity for being workaholics, such a capacity for not switching off because of a need to achieve or a need to provide for family, you know, all that sort of thing, right? That sense that Leo is the performer and Leo needs to be on all the time. I feel like it drifts away as you get older. But it means that when you do arrive at the party, whatever party that is in a metaphorical sense, then what you want happens. You've developed the ability to be patient. You've developed the ability to be more watchful, more observant, and far more willing to do the work yourself, right? On yourself, rather than trying to change the environment to suit you. It's like, well, I'm going to change myself, because ultimately that really is the only thing that I have control over. Now, when we come into April, it does feel like the hard work is ending. Well, it's ending in some ways and it's starting in others, right? But the sort of work that's starting here is something that lights you up. It feels like it's full of joy, because you're starting to see the expression of whatever it is that you have been planning, whatever it is that you've been gestating, really starting to come to life. A lot of work that you've done thus far has been done on faith. And it's been the toll that it's had on you emotionally, right, or not, as the case may be. No, I think it has had a toll, because if it was easy for you, it wouldn't have come around a bit like a test. It would just be a thing that you could do. And it's pushed you, and because it's had this shade of familiarity from whatever was going on in 2021 for you. It's given you an opportunity to show the universe that you have learned and you do things differently now. But there's still been an amount of effort that's gone into that, you know, a corresponding amount of effort. The nature of the work is changing because the direction that you're going in is changing. And like I said, it feels much more like the fruits of your labours are starting to show up this month. The Tower is a huge move. Some of you might actually literally be moving house, or at least putting things in place to make that happen. For some of you, it could be something like a career change. I don't see it being a change of job, going from, I don't know, being a cybersecurity analyst in one firm to another, because that's not Tower energy right there. Tower energy is a redirection. It's like, not this way. We're shaking free the dead weight, and we're going off in that direction instead. So I could see it being a retraining for a different profession, you know, allowing yourself to do that. It could be a big move, not down the street, but something a little bit farther flung. When the Tower comes in, nothing remains the same, and it's hitting in a big fucking way in April. And you're here for it all day long, Leo, because this Ace of Cups, speaking as it does about the relationship that you have with yourself, which has improved immeasurably in the last 6 months. Like, you have grown as a personality, as a character, matured certainly, but this eyes on the prize, no matter how long it takes kind of energy, it's going to be rewarded, and it starts this month. Tell me about the Ace of Cups, please. Got the Emperor, wonderful. We've got the Ten of Wands, exactly as I said there. We've got the World card at the bottom of the deck. The nature of the work is changing. I think rather than it being emotionally challenging, consciously challenging, I feel like it's going to move into a more physically challenging sort of energy, because we've got the Emperor, which is about planning and strategy and all that sort of stuff, right? Mentally challenging, possibly. And he's a fire sign. He's about taking control of a situation. And here's the thing, Leo, right? So you've gone from submitting to whatever the universe has tried to put in place, or has been putting in place for you. And you're like, yes, universe, I have to wait. I know it's important, all that sort of stuff. To being here now, this is the place where you start to take active control. This is why the Ten of Wands is up here again, because it's a different kind of work. But again, it is a 10. And 10s do represent endings. So I feel like this is actually probably going to be a fairly short-lived thing. You know, you can expect April to be absolutely filled with stress, actually. But it's a good kind of stress, because it's got you back in control. You know, the World card is at the bottom of the deck there again. There are going to be things that you're going to need to tie up, loose ends. But this kind of burden and this level of energy needing to be expended short term, as it feels to me that it will be, feels like it's absolutely filling you up, because it's what you wanted. Right? It's starting to come to life, and there is no end to the effort and the energy that you will put into shaping the vision that you've had, like participating in the act of creation of what it is that you visualized for yourself so many months ago. This is tremendous, Leo. I'm so happy for you. Like I said, it's a different kind of burden, and it's one that it feels to me that you're taking on willingly, that you're even possibly excited about. April looks tremendous. Whatever you've been waiting for, it is now on its way. And you don't have to kind of sit around and be all zen about shit. In fact, like, you won't have an opportunity to sit around and be zen about shit, because now you actually have to start getting things done, Leo. But it feels wonderful. Right, I'm going to leave it there. If the reading has resonated with you and you want to look at April more deeply, we're going to go over to Vimeo now and do that. Or you can come join Circle, it's up to you. But if neither of those float your boat, just know that the universe seems to be smiling on you right now, Leo. And that is, just as I'm sitting here with the sun shining through the window and I'm just warm and just basking in it, it's going to be glorious. I'm so happy for you. Well done. All right. Know that I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you soon.